Wait, hold on. What do you mean Stephen King doesn't let you have coffee?
Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Callum Rushworth and I am a self-published fantasy author living in the UK, and I am going to try writing like Stephen King for a full day. So I'm going to follow Stephen King's writing routine, which is he goes for a 3-mile walk before he starts writing, and he likes to sit down at his desk at about 8:30ish every morning to write.
Oi, what are you doing?
What do you mean?
This is my office.
I'm trying to film.
Well, I need to film. I've got Game of Thrones to watch.
Be right back.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're watching Game of Thrones Season 7.
Where was I before I was so rudely interrupted by Becky Does Blog? What is Stephen King's writing routine? So Stephen King's writing routine is he wakes up about 6, half 6 every morning and goes for a 3-mile walk. He then sits down religiously about 8, 8:30 in the morning to start writing. He always reads the past couple pages of what he wrote the previous day before he starts writing, and then he aims to write 2,000 words or about 6 pages of A4 before he finishes. He then finishes work about 12, 12:30, that's the life, and spends the rest of his day doing what he wants, whether that be spending time with his family, responding to emails, or whatever. Stephen King is also really famous for writing with the same music over and over again, famously driving his wife mad. And he also writes really, really clean, which is something I'm going to really struggle with because my first drafts are usually atrocious and I go back and edit them at a later point. I'm going to try to write 2,000 clean words though as part of this challenge, because in 8:30 to 12:30, 4 hours, I would probably write about 4,000 words. I'm going to try to slow down and write cleaner so that I hit around 2,000 words, 6 pages. As part of the first draft, Stephen King also recommends that you write with the door closed. I'm going to take that literally and have my door closed to keep distraction free. And he also suggests turning mobile phones off. I'm filming on mine, so that keeps me away from using it because I'm going to be talking to you lovely people. A little bit about me for those of you that are new here. I have written 3 books, 2 novels and 1 novella. They're just on the shelf here. My debut novel, The Summoner, is an epic fantasy set in a world where magic was once believed to be extinct, but it's now reawakening, and with it reawakening, a dark one is rising, raising with him even darker creatures. And my novella, The Last True Dagger Dancer of Nardus, is an action-adventure fantasy which follows Kiara, who is a dagger dancer, and her magical animal soulbound companion Ness, who is a golden jaguar, as they battle their way across the deserts of Nardus. Okay, that's enough self-promo. Shall we get started? So I've got my alarm set for 6 o'clock tomorrow morning to do the 3-mile walk, but I need to get my office set up because I usually write in here, but I also work from here. So currently it's set up in work mode and I need to turn that into writing mode. Also, I need to get as much writing done in this office as I possibly can over the next couple of months because it is soon to turn into a nursery, as me and my wife are expecting our first child in October, which is super exciting. So yeah, I'm not going to have this office space for too much longer, so I need to make the use of it as I can before this desk gets moved all the way upstairs into the bedroom, and probably all of my writing mojo is going to disappear with it. So plan for the rest of today is I'm going to go to the gym, do a food shop, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to tidy this office so that it is ready for tomorrow. I also need to print off the last few pages of what I have been writing so that I can read through it. What I have been working on is my second novella, which is codenamed Project Ashes, which is a murder mystery set in the same world as the rest of the series, but at a different point in time. So my plan with all of the novellas that I'm writing is in a similar way to the way GRRM Martin has written A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms in comparison to A Song of Ice and Fire. You could read them as standalones and enjoy them, but if you read them alongside the main series, they would add a bit of extra flavour and spice to the main series. So yeah, they're not required reading, but they have nice little Easter eggs for those dedicated fans that want to read everything that I write. We've been to the gym and we've done a food shop. So what does that mean? That means I get to reward myself with a coffee and a muffin. It does kind of defeat the purpose of going to the gym before doing the food shop, but it also feels a bit like a treat. So yeah, anything to get you out of the house, right? I need to print off the pages to read, and I also need to print off some orders to send out because I have been grateful enough to sell some bundles recently, so I'm going to get all that printed off now. So I have my laptop in place, I've got the last few pages of what I was working on printed off, I've got my notebook to make notes in as I go along, I've got some trusty highlighters to go through if I've seen any issues, and I've got my sort of like writer's guides here that I refer to as cheat sheets for sort of like helpful adjectives, reactions, and like dialogue thesaurus. They're really useful. I quite like them. And yeah, we're pretty much set up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tidy up the rest of it so that I have a nice, clean working environment to get going in. And yeah, we'll catch up tomorrow.
Right, let's get this room tidy because it is an absolute mess at the moment. I don't really tidy the office all that often. I should do it more, but we'll get there. We'll get there. I like to write in a tidy space, and that's probably one of the reasons why I've been really struggling to write in recent months. It's just because the office hasn't been as tidy as I'd like it.
Wait, hold on. What do you mean Stephen King doesn't let you have coffee?
So it is 6 o'clock in the morning. We are going out for a 3-mile walk. I haven't got any headphones in, so we're going to try and let the creative juices flow, as they say. I am so grateful that where I live, I can do this in nature rather than in the concrete jungle, because going for walks around a city is very boring, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to see some wildlife whilst I'm out here, so I'll keep you informed. Wow, a deer. So I'm usually somebody who, when they go for walks, has to wear headphones and listen to music. I don't know why, I've always been that way. But walking without headphones today has been enlightening. As corny as this is going to sound, I genuinely feel like I've started to dream. Like my creativeness at the moment is at an incredible high, and I can 100% see why Stephen King does this on a daily basis. I'm really hoping that by the time I get home and start writing, all of these words and all of these thoughts are going to stay with me, and I'm not just going to have massive writer's block, because knowing my luck, that is what is going to happen. So yeah, we'll see you when we get back and start this challenge.
So the time is 8:30 and we're just about to start the writing for the day. All I can say is thank Stephen King for allowing tea. I'm not 100% sure what I'd have been able to do had I not been able to have any caffeine during the day. I am someone who really does love coffee. I'll drink 2 to 3 cups a day, every day, and therefore my caffeine dependence is probably quite high. So today's going to be a test because I'm not 100% sure that tea has enough caffeine to deal everything. I've got my glass of water like he suggests, and Stephen King also has a vitamin. I've got some turmeric because I had shoulder reconstruction surgery 2 years ago, and in the process of that they found that I had early onset arthritis in my shoulder. So turmeric was recommended to help with that, so I'm going to use that, and then we're going to start writing. So we've got the pages that I've wrote recently that I'm going to reread so that I have a good idea of where I'm starting from, because that is what he suggests to do, and then we're going to start writing. So yeah, stick around. So I have finished reading through the essentially previous chapter that I had wrote. I'm writing a murder mystery currently, and they have just sort of come across the locked door problem, which is standard across murder mysteries, and there are multiple ways of doing it, but like the most common is the killer never left the room. So I'm taking a play on that currently, so that the investigator has just realised that it's a locked door problem, they're in the room, and there is no way that the killer could have got in or out of the room. So she has just come to the same conclusion that they must still be in the room. So I'm building tension, and they've just done a bit of investigations to figure out if the killer was still in the room. So that's currently what's going on. I am now going to start writing the next chapter, and we'll check in again in a little bit. So the time is 10:20 and I have taken a short tea break to get a second cup of tea and a second glass of water because, as expected, the lack of caffeine is hitting me. However, the tea is definitely helping, so I'm holding on to that like a lifeline. We're about halfway through now, so I've written 1,787 words. I did expect to be slightly quicker than the 2,000 words in 4 hours, but that's just because I don't write quite as clean. And to be honest, I did try to slow down and write a bit cleaner, but I felt like it was starting to block me at the beginning. So I thought, okay, let's just write for the 4 hours and see how many words we can actually get wrote and not just stop at 2,000, because I am wanting to get this draft one complete, because the moment draft one's complete, I can go back and I can clean things up. I can make things more precise. I can make things more interesting, build tension even more efficiently, that kind of thing. For now, it's just a case of let's just get it wrote. I am quite enjoying this actually so far in terms of having the time scheduled to write. So I am definitely one of those people, because I work full time, that just try to beg, borrow and steal time to write. So I find time in the morning before I set off for work. I find time when I get home after a commute from work. I find time just before bed. And it's definitely not for hours at a time that I get to sit and write, especially at the moment with everything that's going on, building out the nursery, sort of preparing for baby arrival. And I can imagine that time is only going to dwindle the closer it gets, and then disappear entirely for the first few months after the baby arrives. So I really need to make the most of it now. And having 4 hours scheduled out to do a bit of writing, I'm hoping I can get nearly 4,000 words for it. That is a good chunk. This is a novella. It's planned to only be about 40,000 words. So you're looking at 10% of the book wrote today, which is incredibly exciting for me. If you're enjoying this sort of video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing, because it helps you see videos that I post more easily and it means the world to me. I am a small YouTuber. I am planning to release more videos. I'm incredibly new to this. So if you are enjoying this sort of thing, please let me know. If you want to see more vlogs, let me know. If you want to see more writing routines from famous authors, definitely let me know. I've been considering trying George R.R. Martin's routine, which, from without doing any research, my assumption is he just stares at a screen for about 6 hours and then writes an angry blog article about the fans not happy that he hasn't released Winds of Winter yet. George, if you're watching this, I am only joking. I do love you. And I know he does actually have a writing routine, and I could research it and give it a try. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, please let me know. And I'll catch up with you in about an hour. I think I'm going to write for another hour solid, and then maybe have another check-in. So see you guys soon. Hey, so it's now 11:30, and as expected, I am starting to slow down. The lack of caffeine is certainly hitting me, and I'm starting to get very hungry. I've wrote 500 words since our last catch-up, which means I have hit the 2,000 word mark for the routine. I'm hoping I can write another 500 words by about 12:30, when I'm going to aim to finish. And then that should take me to about 3,000 words wrote, which, yeah, it's just shy of 10% of the novella. I am starting to feel a bit fried. I can see why it could be difficult to write solidly for 4 hours. As much as going into this, I thought, oh, that's the life. Start at work at 8, finish work for the day at 12. That's it, like 4 hours of work and you're done for the day on a full-time wage. That sounds like the dream. It is quite mentally draining, and I am really, really struggling to sort of keep focused and stay in the world. I am very much wanting to have a break, but I'm just going to keep trying to push through, try and do another hopefully 500 words in the next hour, and then have a well-deserved nap probably. But yeah, I mean, this is a lot more rote than I would normally have gotten wrote. I keep saying the word wrote. I'm pretty sure it's written. I've written a lot more. This shows you why I need to have a second, third and fourth draft of everything. I need to make sure my grammar is correct and the words I'm using actually exist. But yeah, I've written a lot more today than I would have done had I not done this challenge. I might have only wrote 500 words had I not set a time aside to do this routine and share it with you guys. So thank you for that. Even if this video only gets 10 views, I have achieved more today than I would have done had I not set out to do it. So yeah, I think I'll probably do more writing vlogs going forward, because it definitely motivates me to sit down with some time aside perfectly for writing, and it means that I do get more written. So yeah. Okay, I will catch up with you guys in about an hour at 12:30 when we finish the day, and hopefully we'll have hit 3,000 words. And that's it, we're at 12:30, so we have done 4 hours worth of writing and we have written 3,400 words. That's quite a lot. So I've definitely overachieved the 2,000 word daily target. I have underachieved my original expectation of 4,000 words, but I got into a really good groove in that last hour. I felt like I hit a bit of a flow state, but I am feeling very, very tired and drained now from it. So I don't think I could do another hour. I'm quite glad that this challenge has now come to an end. So I followed Stephen King's writing routine for a day. I've tried it. I woke up at 6, I went for a 3-mile walk, felt fantastic from it. I've come back and I started writing at 8. Well, I say started writing. I started the routine at 8, which was to read. So I read the previous chapter that I had written and then started writing after it. The biggest challenge, I think personally, was the lack of coffee. I'm really used to drinking a lot of coffee, so that was a big challenge. I think if I was to try it again, I would be a bit less strict on the rules, and where Stephen King drinks tea, I would drink coffee and I'd probably feel a lot better for it. So what does Stephen King do with the rest of his day after he finishes writing at 12:30? Well, he's a little bit more vague on this, but he says he spends the time either responding to emails, reading, or spending time with family. So I think I'm going to try all 3. I have got to upload my manuscript for On Darker Tides for the narrator so that they can start narrating the audiobook, which is really cool. My narrator is a guy called Simon Spowski. He's really talented, and I would recommend him to any self-published author looking for a narrator to take on their next project. And I'm then going to carry on reading, because as part of the book club I'm in, I am reading Cirque by Madeline Miller. I'm enjoying it. I'm not 100% sure what my overall thoughts are. I'm about a third of the way through at 100 pages. Hopefully read another 50 pages today. And then spend the evening cooking tea and with my wife and my little bunny rabbit. So that is the plan for the rest of the day. Thank you all for joining me on this little routine. If you have enjoyed it, again, please like and subscribe, and let me know if there is any author you would like me to do next. Otherwise, let me know if you just want more reading vlogs, because this has been really fun to do and it's kept me motivated to write. So thank you all. As always, please stay safe. Happy reading. Bye for now.